Well, good morning and good morning. How are you doing this morning? I'm hoping it's just lovely where I'm at. The sun is shining through my kitchen window, and I'm happy. I woke up this morning in a good frame of mind. I'm still seeing, I'm still hearing, I'm still having the ability to do. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I'm hoping your morning is just going to be wonderful. And I appreciate it that you might just stop, scroll, and stop right here. That's what I want you to do. So, anyway, today's discussion is on power. And it's real power or it's perceived power. Sometimes we don't have real power. We think we do, but someone else has usurped our power. We've given our power away, or by order, just by order of maybe some other thing was going on. It could be the color of your skin. It could be the fact that, you don't look a certain way, or you're not a certain height, certain weight. And so you're left feeling like you would like to be able to do more than what you're doing. I have my first attendant this morning. My attendee is Gucci the dog. I don't know why. Once I start talking, he just comes towards the kitchen door. He can't come in, and he sits outside. But anyway, he's in a good place because he can hear his lesson too. Because I have to let him know periodically that he doesn't have power, that the power belongs to me. When I feed him, when I let him out. Now, he can get powerful if I decide not to let him out too soon, and he may leave something. So I still have to pay attention to him. And sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to pay attention to who's on our list of who we have to do something for. And that may be powerful, it may not be, but the point is that we have to put ourselves in a position of being present, being here. And so that's what I'm doing with my power this morning, is that I am present, I am here. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to say good morning to you. And I got to ask you the question. Are you stuck? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Everybody's coming in. Deborah, Demar. It's just so good to see you this morning in my space. I just take this as such an opportunity of goodwill from the man up above, that he gave me something to say every day. And I'm hoping you're bringing your pens and papers and being able to write some of this stuff down, because I'm going to tell you something about thought. Once it squirrels, I don't care how young you are or even old you are, you may come back to it, but it's never going to always be as crystal clear as it was sometimes when things come to you. They are so clear. If you write them down, then you're more apt to not only be able to go back and add to it, but it will be sustained in memory, because the more often you do something, the more often you find that you can go back to it, and it's in your resource of thought. And so that's what we want to say. So today, you know what to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about power, but I'm first going to start off with some poems. And I don't know, yesterday I was really affected by the funeral of the final funeral for George Floyd, and I tell you, it was moving to me. It was moving, and even though I had to stop at some point to do a couple of Zoom meetings with some boards and things that I'm on, it was, to me, it was a celebration of life. And sometimes people will not let you forget what you used to do, and they always want to continue to try to bring blame forward, even though God was blameless, but people blamed him. Okay. And I'm not saying what George did in his past, but what we can say is God used him. God used him. God used him for what we're going through right now. I think the world has been on tilt. First we went from pandemic to being still to being now we're off balance. We're off balance because we realize that there's some things that need to be discussed. We need to talk about them. What are they? We have to talk about it. Good morning, Deborah. We have to talk about what's going on. And what better way than to certainly start writing some things down. So, of course, every day God gives me another word to discuss. And so today is power, and I ask the question, do you really have power or is it perceived power? Because sometimes you don't realize that people, governments, organizations, sometimes relationships are all over you. They are more powerful than you. But so you have to find out, well, what's my stance on stuff? I don't know. What's my take on stuff? I don't know. What's my ability to speak on something? I don't know. And so that's what this opportunity, I'm praying that you will use for that purpose, to ask yourself some questions, to write some things down, to be able to come back and look at them again and say, what? That I need to go back and readdress that. Something's missing, something's wrong, something's off. And the only way you can ever do that is that you just hit it head on. You hit it head on. So we're going to talk about power. And so I'm going to start out with Emily Dickinson. I know if you've been to any school, high school, they started with little poems. And so this poem, it's this poem number 540. That much she wrote at least 539 and came to 540. Don't know why. But it talks about power. And it says, I took my power in my hand and went against the world. 'Twas not so much as David had, but I was twice as bold. I aimed my pebble, but myself was all the one that fell. Was it Goliath? Was it too large? Or was myself too small? I like that. I like that. Because sometimes we try to measure up against something big, and we need to either go with somebody that's going to work on the same issue, or we need to say, that's too big, I'm going to start at the bottom. And sometimes the weakness can be dealt with at the bottom, because if you keep chipping away at the bottom, the top will fall. I'm just saying. That's just Sandy's take on it. That's just Sandy's take. Now, this other one is called Power, and I got it off Pinterest, and I liked it. I kind of get moved by the words and what it could mean. And so it doesn't have a name, but it's probably E.H. I don't know who E.H. is, Edward Howard. I don't know. I don't know who that name is, but it's just initials all the time. And this one says, Power. I make the earth stop in its tracks. I made the blue cars go away. I can make myself invisible or small. I can become a gigantic and reach the farthest things. I can change the course of nature. I can place myself anywhere in space or time. I can summon the dead. I can perceive events on other worlds in my deepest inner mind. And in the minds of others, I am. It's pretty interesting, because this individual has decided that nothing is too big for them to deal with. Nothing. And sometimes that's the attitude that you have to have in order to achieve anything, in order to see yourself get ahead, is that you have to realize that you can't wait on anybody else. You have to take a stance and be about whatever it is important for you to do. Good morning, Levin. Good morning, Jamisha. Good morning, Sandra. Good morning. I'm just so bad. And Candace, my little friend from work. Hi, Candace. It's just wonderful. I'm glad you're all here. So anyway, we're in talking about power. Of course, you can see what power does and what it doesn't do. Sometimes power is a period of where the control is so other things that might be eliminated or made small. happens is that the top runs everything, and so the middle and the bottom are kind of left to swing in the wind. Whatever happens, it's all based on what the top says. Now, you've worked in an agency, or you've been in a relationship where what they were talking about became the dominant force. And so what is power? So it says power is the ability to do something in a particular way. And it says especially as a faculty or a quality. So that means if you're on like an administrative kind of means, okay? So it looks at, it's the capacity or the ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. That's powerful. President of the United States, powerful. Powerful. Powerful position. Regardless of who's running it, it's a powerful position. So, you have to look at people in positions of power may not always have your best interests at heart. And that's what you deal with. You have to deal with, well, how do we deal with this? Well, certainly if it's on a local level, it's on a regional level, national level, and you have an opportunity to vote, you need to vote. Especially if it's that kind of power. If it's some other kind of power, if it's a power in where you're working at, or a power in a relationship, you at some point, have to do something. You have to say something for yourself, speak up for yourself. If it's relationships, you have to get out. See you. See you in the next lifetime when I'm feeling better about, being able to take care of myself and the people like you. But we don't always do that. A lot of times we stay and we stay and we stay. So the next one is, anyway, it also talks about power being one's ability, one's capacity, one's property, one's potential. All of that talks about the power. So when you say that power has been given up or all to whoever's in charge, that is powerful, very powerful. And sometimes it might even be scary, especially if the wrong decisions are being made for the one, the two, the masses. It doesn't matter. So how I do, I break it down. And today I broke it down with the P of power, being perception. And this just came to me. It says it's the ability to see, hear, or be, to become aware of something through your senses. And some of us have been told, or I would say we've become so inoculated where we end up being insensitive. We don't go into our senses, so we don't sense what's happening. We form no opinions. We form no, we can't come to a realization that anything is wrong or that anything is right. Because sometimes people can run good people away, as well as not see that there's bad people in their lives. They don't see it. They don't look for it. It's always about, well, they do this, they do that. Okay? And so that's why I'm always asking that question. So what's your opinion? What do you think? What do you want? So anyway, when we talk about perception, it's one's appreciation of themselves and their ability to realize what's going on. It's their own cognizance, their own awareness, their own consciousness, their own knowledge, their own acknowledgement. It's their own grasp of things that are going on, their own comprehension, because sometimes things can happen and people don't remember the details. That's why I say, if you can write something down, write it down. Because it will, it's just going to score you away. That's okay. It's okay. Doesn't matter how old you are. It just will just scurry. It's one's sensation. It's one's fact-finding. And one's ability to speak on something. It's theirs. It's their perception. It's their opinion, how they feel about something. All that comes up under the umbrella of perception. And perception as it would be related to power. So if you see somebody doing something that's over, that they're in a powerful position that's wrong, should you say something to them? Should you report it to somebody else? Should you, just like, and I have to relate it, just like those police officers that were with, the man, I can't even say his name, the man that decided he was going to take a life. They at some point in time had to cross the line and say, okay, he's been on the force all these years. He knows what he's doing. I would have probably panicked and said, I don't think he knows what he's doing. I probably would have been the carnage, period. Somebody would have probably been, and they were asking the question. I think one of the lawyers for one of the police officers said last night, I saw it on last night's news, is that the bystanders should have stepped in. The bystanders were being held by a policeman who was armed. Okay? What's he thinking? He's already trying to go in and get somebody off. At some point in time, I don't care how new you are, your sense should have taken over, and the perception should have been, this is not right. He's already detained. He's already, to do anything to us. There's 4 of us, only 1 of him, regardless. But anyway, sorry if I ramble a bit. The next letter in power is, one's ability to look at what the options are. What is an option? It's the optional view, and it's the availability to be chosen, looking at it, how are you looking at something? What's your option for it? Should you select it? Does it make sense? And actually I ended up having 3 different O's. One was looking at one's option, the other one looking at omission, because sometimes we aren't selected. We aren't the ones. We may be able to be the ones to do the job or get things done, but we're not selected. That would be one that's being omitted or omit. And then, then we could look at obligation. Do you have an obligation when you're looking at something? When you see something that's wrong, or you see something that's just over you, should you speak on it? Should you speak on it? Some people won't. They just won't do it. They won't take the chance. And I think our society has raised us up to ask permission. And so when you find, like, the younger people ask permission, and they don't want any more conversation about, more rigors of legislation and, what I call legal talk, and nothing happens. And so that's where they're at. And so it really talks about those things. And the other thing would be just looking at somebody that has an optional way of looking forward. It says to be available, to be chosen, and not be obligatory, meaning you just don't count. What are you doing? Where are you at? Are you free to make a choice? I don't know. Some people aren't free to make choices. They're not open. They don't know how to be open. They don't know how to be not forced into silence. Forced in silence, it seems like they're oxymoron statements, and they probably are, but a lot of us, we don't elect to stand on what we see and what we know, and so we're silenced. We're silenced. The next question, then the next word for the W in power is war. And war, of course, is a state of armed conflict between groups within a nation or a state. And I don't know why war came to me, but I always look at what makes war. And war is disagreement. War may be over things such as possession and land and money and Sometimes it's even people, which could be like chattel, So all those things really speak to what is what is war? Are we currently, in a position to be at war? I think we're always on the edge of being at war if something that is believed to be in our interests, or, certainly has something that valuable for us as a nation that we go to war over it. So concern I remember in my life, the Vietnam War. I was young. My brother went off to war and he came back. And I remember what he came back as. He went off as this, I'm going to do. And he came back broken, And I remember his breaks. I remember the fact that he told me one day that some things happened that where he lived and the rest of his his rest of his troops rest of his troop died. And that's always probably been a question in his head. What happened? Why me? So war to me is always dangerous, even if you're talking about war in the country. With it might be within the races, it might be within you know the different groups that could come up. That war in the streets, or war over land, or war over, like, you can't come to this block. You have to stay over there on your side. You can't wear those clothes because that signifies something. So that there's always war, even if it's on a small scale. The effects of it could what I call have a growing effect, where multiple people are affected by that. Good morning, Sean and Claydine, Sharia. Oh my goodness, thank you guys for being there. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. The next word is elucidate, and I like that word. And elucidate is where you make it clear. It's explained. You can explain that. And a lot of us are not clear on what we want. We're not clear on what we need. We're not clear on where we need to go. We're led by others. And so because we are being led by others, then our opinion has basically been buried. We let it be buried. We don't have to. We really can look at what elucidate does for us. It illuminates stuff. It explains things. It cleans things up. It also interprets what it is that you really mean, and it untangles, unravels. Basically, it makes it where it is plain, and it is simple, and it is understood. Sometimes things that are so complex, we may understand them, but we can't explain it. Doesn't matter. Do your best attempt, so that people have an understanding of where you are. And sometimes we don't do that. We just don't. And so that would be a good word that really talks about how powerful we are when we can explain who we are, where we are, and what we want, and where we want to go. That makes us powerful over the things that we've been given guidance over. It's our own guidance we're under. And I know we live in a country where we're free, but sometimes you have to ask yourself, are you? You still got to pay those taxes. You still got to make sure things are done right according to whoever says. The government says. In fact, I just paid my business license the day before yesterday, and it went up to $138.58. I don't know why they got the 58 cents there, okay? But anyway, I paid my money, and I was tickled at it, because once I paid it, and they send you the little notice that you're paid up for the year, and I said, wow, that's just to be registered in the state of Florida as a business. So look at all the money that is just given. I mean, and you put everything in the system, so they don't even do that. In fact, they don't. There's some other things they don't entertain anymore. You can go in and update some of your information, and I'll just tell you if it's okay, or if you need to send more money. And I think even an update might be $50. So it just shows you that being clear sometimes costs you a little money. And the last word on here for the R of power is revolution. And I got kind of tickled about this because I heard one of the young girls on the protest on the TV. She was protesting, revolution shall not be televised. And they were giving the young artists credit for it. I said, see, they don't even know. That was a slogan in the 60s, and the revolution shall not be televised. And I remember Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, they would always sing, and that was one of their lead-ins, but it was spoken, like a spoken word, on the revolution shall not be televised. Well, that's actually, even if something is going wrong, like in the case with George Floyd, somebody was there, and the cell phones have actually revolutionized what the TV never was able to pick up. When things were going wrong, when things were bad, when people were mistreated, and ultimately, in this instance, when they actually passed away from what was being done to them. So the revolution, I believe, is happening. Is that you can see the young people, they are out there, they are doing their thing. And many older people are, in fact, you look at it, it's all races, all sizes, it's all beliefs. It doesn't matter what their beliefs are, it's all religions. People are fed up. People are deciding that they have a voice. That is their power. Collectively, we can be powerful. And what I talk about with people is that they don't even realize how powerful they are. Your money is powerful. You stop buying stuff at a certain store and you get other people to support the concept. Guess what? The store has to change because they have to bend to your need. They have to come the way you present. And a lot of times if you're not there, then they don't have to they have to find a way to get you back in there. And so you have to demand something from them. And sometimes people don't realize, but the mighty dollar, I always get notes, well, you haven't been here in a long while. Right. The pandemics helped me not go. And I'm glad they were shut down. I was concerned to get sick, and I'm not wanting anyone else to get sick. But for me, it saved me some money, because there's certain things that I got to tell you, I haven't missed them. Which says that we could live more simple and have more abundance, And I think there's a book out called Simple Abundance, but it talked about the wonderfulness of having less, which makes you, because having less, that means you have more time to think, more time to breathe, more time to just feel life as it is in the natural state without all of the other things, all the other things. So anyway, revolution really talks about the overthrow of government, or it's like social unrest when they've decided to make some changes. It could be insurrection, it could be riot. I always used to love this word in school. It could be a coup d'etat. I love that. Isn't that good? It means the same thing. Throw them over. It means the same thing. To throw them over. It talks about it's mutiny and it's a revolt. So all those things are what you see, but you don't, even though they had looters and there were some that were out there throwing, fire bombs or whatever they were throwing at the police, back and forth, or what's going on. If you move them out, you found more good than bad, you know. So I originally hated the way it was being reported because I felt that there was a lot of good going on, and you see it's still going on. They haven't stopped. In fact, after the funeral, they were still marching. Even though George Floyd is gone, the issue that he left under still remains. And so that's what is still going on. How do we make changes? Get people to hear what needs to be heard. And once again, as a collective of bodies, there's power in it. And they showed those pictures, to me, powerful to see thousands of people, in Washington, D.C., in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, in New York City. I mean, it was like, wow. We don't realize how powerful we are because we try to sling a slingshot like David, and that was biblical and it was good. But when Goliath is multifaceted, multi-winged, multi-headed, then you need some numbers. You need some people. And so collectively going after what it is you want and not settling for less and going at it in a nonviolent way, to me, it shows great promise. So I'm excited for the younger people. I'm excited that they might be the ones that will lead the discussion, lead us into a way of hope. Oh, yes, Deborah. Hope. Looking at what hope does. Good morning, Tammy and Patricia. Katrina, good morning. So I'm excited, that we can just be ones who not just see what's going on, but can appreciate what's going on and help when we can. Like maybe, I'm a good writer. Maybe occasionally write somebody a good speech, or going or making signs or whatever it is, whatever we can do to make the cause worthwhile and continue to be one of nonviolence, but working towards the goal for change. That would be powerful. That would be our power. Collective power, you can't do nothing with collective power because a collection of people working on the same issue for the same thing, I'm talking greatness. I mean, governments have fallen, where they went in to get it. You got to go. Sent them packing. In fact, they went to another country, So there's power in what we can do collectively, but trying to sometimes do it alone isn't good. But on the other hand, on a personal note, when you're dealing with something that personally is usurping your power, your personal ability, your personal way of life, you're going to have to come out and just deal with them directly, and then that might be having a discussion with somebody you work with. I've done that before. I remember telling people, I gave you no provocation to talk to me any way you want to, so it will not happen. Done with that. Sometimes you just have to sit, basically show up and let people know, I'm not taking that. You can take that someplace else, but it will not rest with me. It will not rest here. And that's your personal power. But in terms of you giving it up, don't give it up. It's yours. Your power is your power. So anyway, getting down to the questions today, it was on the whole idea of power. And so I'm going to ask you the question, do you know your power? Do you? Do you know how powerful you are personally? And if you got with other people who are working towards the same goal, can you imagine how powerful you could be collectively? Powerful. Just absolute nothing but power. But because, people have gotten us used to being isolated. Isolation works when you're trying to get something done for yourself. But when you have to work on a collective issue, then you need to look at it collectively with some folks that are collectively interested in going forward. And it can't be for their personal gain. It's for everyone's gain. Personally, you may benefit, but the goal is that everyone that's working on it is working towards the same goal of relieving an issue, relieving a problem, being a part of the solution. In fact, I was looking at something this morning. I was wondering where Strahan was from Good Morning America, and I said, I wonder where he is. He's been gone a week and a half. I like him. I like to see him and Robin. So I said, okay, Michael, where you at? What I did was I Googled it, and when I Googled it, he had done like a little Facebook Live, or it must have been YouTube Live, because it was on there, and it was just explaining his position of being, upset as a black man, upset as a person of color, and being concerned about something that happened in front of all of our lives, because there was some young woman who decided she was going to videotape it and make it where it went viral. And sometimes just what we see can hold us to a point where we become angry, we become frustrated, we become sad, all those things that really talk about what seeing someone being put to death in our presence, what it would do to us. And that's basically what he said. It just tore him up. It tore him up. And so he was speaking on that this morning. But what he said at the end, and it wasn't planned, he said the power is in the people. And I said, oh, you better speak, Michael. You better speak, because I didn't know anything about his video. His video was done 4 days ago. I had done this, write up. I do my write up on what I'm going to speak on the night before. All I could say is, well, look at God. Look at what he does. He continues to wind things up and put them together and make them fit, for the good. Can you, anyway, that's what he said. The power is in the people. It's not in public servants, it's not in them. It's not in plans. It's not in positions. He said, it's not in politics. I'm telling you, it was a good message. It was a good message. And it added to what I was already going to speak about. So anyway, sorry, I went a little off. Okay, the next question is, I hope you have a pen and paper. I get excited about when I'm doing this. I forget to tell you. I hope you have a pen and paper. It says, what is your current perception on what is happening in America? Are you supportive? Are you saddened by it, but still hopeful for it? Hopeful for it to have a better way forward in terms of color, speaking about racism, speaking direct about what bothers you, who you are? Don't know. But it says we collectively can form a solution to the big problem. So once again, our perception is one thing. It's what we do with it which makes it powerful. If we can do something with it that works towards the collective good. Number 3, do you exercise your options, your opinion? Do you exercise them? The fact that, and do you acknowledge your being omitted? You just left out of stuff. Well, some people, we've been left out of stuff for years. We still manage. We're included maybe in what I call the grunt work, the work of being. But once the acknowledgement is, at that phase, that's where we might be knocked off. You know, I always used to watch some of the movies that they gotten better. So but I always used to watch movies, and in the movies I would kind of get tickled because the black folks would always get killed off of the first couple of scenes in the movies. You know, whatever it was, you know, they've gone, and so then the rest of the movie went with, and you know, not the movies were still good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying. You know, it was just a recognition and acknowledgement that, wow, they're getting ready to go. Because Hollywood wasn't fair to African Americans or any other cultures, you know. So only recently have you been starting to see more of that go on. And that's a wonderful thing. So number 4, have you experienced being omitted from anything? That kind of went with 3. Yes, you know, you weren't considered for stuff. You weren't given anything. You weren't invited to the table. You weren't invited to the party. You know, that's on the smaller scale, you know. The next question, do you see war within the world ever ceasing in our lifetime? You see war. I mean, and I know there's still trouble over in, you know, the Med and all that area, you know. So what do you see? What do you see? I'm praying that we don't go to war, because I think war, I haven't told you what I did about my brother earlier. I just think war is devastating. It not just ruins the life that left to go to war. It ruins the lives that are affected by the person that comes back from the war. It does. Sometimes the kids, the relationships, you know, scary times. Scary times for those folks that have experienced that. And the last 2 questions, it says, can you elucidate where you are in life and where you are headed? And that means, can you be clear about it? Do you know where you want to go? What you want to do? What you want to do currently, right now? You know, I know you're on, you know, some of you are in quarantine, some of you are not, but what's your plans? What's your actions? You know, and every time I talk, I'm always talking about, these things may be related, just in terms, I may just be using a different word, but I'm always talking about the possibility of getting over things, getting around things, getting through things, and understanding our stuck, you know. And all of us are going to do it. We're going to get stuck. The last question, it says, will the revolution be televised? And you all should be able to put on the bottom of your sheet of paper, hell yes. Okay, because somebody has a camera that is taking pictures of everything you do. That's like if you have a certain walk, but yet and still you doing this and doing that. Somebody has it. Somebody has it. You know, that's just the way life is now. Somebody. So we're not perfect people. We're not expected to be perfect. Although we make every attempt to try to look like we are, but we're not. You know, we're not. We're given choices and opportunity that we can say yay or nay, and sometimes we say nay when we should have said nay, or we say nay and we should have said yes. You know, but it just happens. That's our lives. So anyway, today's discussion was on power. I hope I've made you a little bit more aware of where your power is. And as I said, I really feel that when we address things collectively, looking at power, it makes us powerful. It makes us powerful. Personally, there's always your own power, you know. And you don't want to give it up. You don't want to give up your own power. You really want to look at making it where it's beneficial to you, and then it also may help somebody else along the way. That to me passes on power. You know, the fact is that even if I don't enjoy all the things that, you know, I will leave, you know, a walk for my daughter, I want it to be that I did something, you know. I'm doing something every morning. I get up and I make sure I have a lesson to prepare because even if I help one, that's something. I don't know if the Lord will have it where eventually I have a whole lot of people. But all I can ask is if you would share it, then the potential is there. Share the videos. Send them to my YouTube channel, which is Sandra L. Winborn, PhD. And I have every single video that I've done on this series of Are You Stuck in that channel that you'll be able to certainly listen to, and I'm just excited for the opportunity. I was up late last night trying to figure out how to format a book, and if you've ever done personal publishing, it's absolutely crazy. But hey, once again, my power is in my persistence. So I'm going to persist, and I'm going to get it done. And actually, I'm there. I'm there. I'm just waiting for a few corrections to come through, and then we'll have a book up online. I'm asking you to support the book. It is a children's book. It's called Owl's 10 Fingers. It says he uses them to play music. And my desire is that it will get into the school system. Not just local, because he is a local musician, but also that we can get it into other school systems around the country. We worked hard on it, and there's excitement in it, and I believe that the Lord will make a way, and you can certainly help with that happening, certainly passing it on. But I want you to have a good day. I want it to be in your power, that you've thought things through, that you've come to some your own perceptions, that you've identified, that you don't want to be admitted, and you want to be able to elucidate who you are, what you're doing, where you're going, that you understand the significance of war, but you don't want to go to war. And last thing is that your revolution for you will be televised. Okay, I'm going to see you tomorrow, which will be Thursday. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. I appreciate you for coming. Please share. Have a good day. Bye-bye.